getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Hello, welcome in to SRG Sim Racers Group Formula 4 here on Tuesday nights on Slow Motion Broadcasting. My name is Charles Beauchelle. Alongside me is Kenan Miller, and in our production booth is Magic Mike Braun. I'm sitting in tonight for JR Gregory, who's enjoying some family time. So JR, enjoy the vacation. We'll see you next week when you get back. We're here tonight. I'm really happy to be broadcasting this race tonight because this is my home racetrack, Barber Motorsports Park, 20 minutes from my house. I love going over there and watching some racing. 2.3 mile, 16 turn course. Very, very tight. IndyCar drivers call this the toughest test of the entire season. It is the most demanding track that they come to each and every year. And Kenan, this is going to be a pretty stern test for these Formula 4 drivers tonight.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a good test for the Formula 4 drivers, but I hate to bust you on the side there. They only say that about Barber Motorsports Park because they don't go to the Virginia International Raceway. But it is certainly a challenge that the drivers have here. It's a all-natural racetrack with some very winding corners and quite an interesting downhill left-right. I don't know if you really call it a chicane about halfway through the lap. So it'll be quite a good test for the drivers. I've been looking at the practice time so far. We've got about 5 minutes left before we'll go into qualifying, and Joshua Leslie is standing on his own head right now, and he is still atop of the board, which he seems to be just about every week right now. So he's got quite a commanding almost 8, 9, 10th second gap between second place Jacob Guyton, which is crazy to say because Jacob Guyton has been about a 4th or 5th place guy here recently, and he's sitting second on the board. And then we do have to notate the second place position in the points. Lloyd Conway is sitting 3 from the bottom. I don't even know how far back. He must be 12th or 15th right now. So I don't know. I heard rumors in the paddock that he was ill last week. Maybe he's still having to fight off that illness and trying to at least race today somehow and get through it. But he's certainly off the pace. So it'll be quite an interesting race we'll have on our hands.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about Barber being a pretty demanding track. I have to agree with you. I think VIR would be horrible for IndyCar. I think it'd be a good race. I think it would be very, very difficult for the drivers. That being said, this is going to be. It's not really, Barber Motorsports Park is not really used that much in iRacing. It's primarily a formula track, so a lot of open wheel races here. In real life, they run everything here. They run all the open wheel series. They run radicals. They run, GTs just started coming here. So the GT America Challenge, GT3s and GT4 multi-class racing is just now started up, along with the IndyCar, and then the support series, the MX5s and Porsche Cups and all those other ones. So yeah, so it's like I said, it's a very difficult track, and it doesn't matter what kind of car you're in. And let's go ahead and take a look at our points for the season and check in on that. And we'll see. I know you already mentioned a little bit. Josh Leslie's there in the lead, 146 points. Nice 18-point gap over Lloyd Conway, having a good season as well. Adam Duvall sitting in third. Greg Meyer in fourth. Aaron Van Wagner fifth. Jose Navas sitting in sixth. Dan Swanbeck in seventh. Jacob Guyton in eighth. Sarah Vase in ninth. And Ken Glasser rounding out your top 10. And obviously, we see a couple really, really tight points battles through there as we scroll down through the rest of the grid. So yeah, it's going to be another one of these, and this might be a wild card race since it is a little known, little used track. You might catch somebody that does a little more practice and is a lot more familiar with it, or you may catch a little slip up from one of the leaders. So it could be a wild card as far as our championship battle goes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a 16-turn test when they come to Barber Motorsports Park. It is quite a challenge, really, and no matter what car you're in, even at the highest level to the lower levels, and as we all know, the SRG, the Sim Racers group, based out of San Jose on the east side, they've got 10 people there right now tonight that are all racing together on the same track, trying to understand Barber and how to get through the corners and how everything works. And it's it's quite a community to understand the track and get faster, and this is where you learn and grow, and it's what really can create a lot of oddballs. It's a common topic every week, but it's a minimizing mistakes game. If you can get through this race, as difficult as the track that we're at, and minimize all your mistakes, it's a very good chance you could win the race or be up front. We've seen Joshua Leslie before in Indianapolis lose it with just 2 corners to go to take the checkered flag. So the races are generally wide open, and this one could be the most open so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been watching the series. Obviously, I'm primarily on the F3s on Wednesday nights, but I have been watching the races when I get a chance. And there's been some really exciting racing, as you said. The Leslie and Conway matchup throughout the season has been very, very interesting to keep an eye on. And obviously, some of these names I am familiar with because they also run the F3 series, and I think SRG's done a really good job of setting up a nice little ladder for these drivers. They come in on the entry level, the F4s, and then they kind of work their way up into the F3s. And it'll be interesting to see how the SRG is going to grow that. And I love the concept of having 10 drivers sitting in the same room. So, once the race is all done, there might be a little bit of smack talk amongst all those guys that are sitting there, or ladies. We won't throw anybody under the bus there, as I do see Embriette Hyde on the board, so I don't want to leave her out. So yeah, we're looking as we get down here to the end of practice. We're going to get qualifying started up here. It is a 15-minute, I believe, open qualifying. So we'll get that underway here just in a few seconds, and then we'll do a flying lap with one of our drivers, and we'll see. We'll talk about this track in particular, some of these corners that might be trouble spots tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And Charles being the hometown hero, I will let him give us a nice guide through the Barber Motorsports Park. If I were to guess, we'll ride along Joshua Leslie. I'm sure he's going to put down a good, hot, competitive, fast lap, probably right out of the box. That tends to be his strategy when we get to the qualifying sessions. But it is 15 minutes open qualifying. You really do want to get out there early. You want to make sure you get a decent gap where maybe you can use a little bit of draft, but you don't allow it to slow down your lap times by catching someone in a corner. So it's kind of an interesting strategy on how people end up. And, just like that, right out of the box, Joshua Leslie had to sharply avoid the car behind him, Nemo Alcazar. So that's quite an interesting outlap. And this is where everything will kind of get going. It really is exciting. And Leslie spun around anyways. So see how difficult this is.
Yeah, absolutely is, and I will have to remind myself as we go. You guys that are watching watching from home, and Kenan as well, will remember that there's no damage. Damage is off for this series, so I have to make sure to remind myself of that because F3 damage is on. So that is a difference between those two series, and I think that's a good thing. I think having the damage off for the entry level series is probably the best solution to a problem because obviously the drivers are out here to learn and to improve and get better. I talked with Jason Kocher, who runs SRG, and he's talked about kind of just leaning over a shoulder when they're in the rig and say, hey, you might want to try this a little bit differently. So I know he's not only is he provided the equipment for these drivers to get together, but he also does a little bit of teaching as we're on board here with Nemo Alcazar. We're going to take this ride along. We head down into turn one, downhill, very touchy little corner to get the braking right as we roll around through turn 2 and 3. This is the beginning of the roller coaster section. As we have a nice 180-degree downhill bend, and we make that run up to turn 4, crest the top of the hill. Ooh, a little sideways there as he comes through. We've got this hard braking zone here right at the crest of the hill. Get on the brakes. Try not to lock it up as we head down here to Charlotte's hairpin for turn 5. Get rolled through there. Camber changes in that corner, so you have to be very careful as we get rolling out of there, heading down through 6, a little nothing corner there, just a bend in the track, and we head down into what you mentioned earlier, the little chicane, heading down into Museum Corner. You'll see the Barber Motorsports Museum sitting there on your left-hand side of the screen as we roll through there and head up through this little right to left S, which makes up, I believe, turns 8, 9. I'm sorry, turns 9 and 10, excuse me there. As we roll over here, this is tunnel turn. We'll crest this hill again. You see all the little elevation changes here. That's a very tricky little corner. You see him get the car just a little bit loose coming through there, through turn 14, back up the hill into 15, which is pit entry corner, and then roll it around and get the car set for the final corner. Easy to push wide here for final corner in turn 16, and heads back down the start finish line to complete his lap, and we'll see get some times come on the board here.
Yeah, you can see just how difficult of a lap it is. Those 16 turns really add up. It's a lot of really slow turns, tough apexes, really kind of awkward corners. The camber isn't really too difficult until you get into the late high speed 14, 15, 16, but it's going to present a totally different challenge than I think most of the people in this Sim Racers Group Formula 4 series have really seen so far this season. And I think we're kind of seeing it with the lap times already with Ryan Chia topping the board. We've seen how difficult, and it's been that way sometimes at tracks with Joshua Leslie. He has a difficult time in qualifying, putting down a clean lap. He pushes so hard, he risks the off tracks, the shortcuts, and just disqualifies the time. And we see him there. It looks like he's on a decent lap with a nice exit. So we'll have to see what maybe he puts together here in the next minute or so.
Yep, and I will say Sarvais had a purple sector in there in sector 3, so he'll set the pole time 124.93. So good lap by him. As I'm sure the lap times will continue to decrease as we get further along in qualifying. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This is one of those that's the corners are a little bit slow. It is a very, very small track. And it's, and the camber changes not as much as you might think. There are a couple of spots, as I mentioned, turn 5, the exit of turn 5 just kind of falls away because that's where the water kind of drains as if we get any precipitation here, it kind of drains down on that outside where the cut through is. So sometimes it catches drivers out. You'll see the cars get loose as they come out of the corner and have a tendency to spin. But yeah, there's enough elevation changes in the braking zones that usually presents problems, as we see that car that was a car going wide there, losing the rear end just a little bit coming through 15. And we still have Vase on top. And there's Josh Leslie coming in with a 124.733.
Yeah, and it's always worth noting, like you mentioned, Charles, the weather report. We are looking at really just a little bit of cloudy skies. There's actually kind of a little heavy clouds, but no rain in the forecast at all. A little bit of wind with 9 miles an hour coming out of the south, but that's really nothing for a Formula 4 car to really be too worried about. I don't think the drivers will see much of an issue with that, but track's going to be dry. It's going to stay dry through the entire 20-minute race. It's a little bit of a colder track. It's 75 degrees outside of our press box right now, but the track is showing 81 degrees, so it's catching a little bit of heat from the sun breaking through the clouds. And still think it's all pretty cool. The drivers will have a lot of grip. They're not really too worried about anything with the weather conditions today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking at the sim time, and it is current to today's date. And at 9 a.m. this morning is when the simulated qualifying time is. And I will tell you that iRacing is being very generous because it was very muggy this morning and a little bit wet. So, because I was out, and it was not pleasant, as it normally is not during the summertime in Alabama. It's a little warm, a little sticky. So, iRacing is giving the drivers a break tonight, giving them a nice track to work with. As we're seeing more purple sectors come in, Greg Meyer, look at that, 124.46. Great lap by Greg. That's 2/10, almost 3/10 over Leslie. And you see the top four drivers within 6/10 of a second of each other. And some of the drivers are, I'm sure, looking to get another lap or two in, as we're just about the 7-minute mark of qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And there we see Joshua Leslie. He does get himself to second on the board, but he spins out again. He's really shown a lot of struggles to put down a good, clean lap, and that does affect you in really how we can forecast this race happening. It certainly is an issue of mistakes, and that is sometimes the biggest challenge for every driver out on the race course. And Joshua Leslie, fastest in practice, only got himself up to second on the board. We are only halfway through, but he's certainly over pushing the car. I think if he maybe settles himself down there and takes a little deep breath on pit road and gets back out there, he can get himself to the top of the board pretty handily.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just going to mention, JR and I over on the F3 side have been talking about rear tire wear throughout the entire season. Are we seeing the same thing in the F4 car? Or we experienced some issues with rear tires? Or have they managed to hold on pretty well during the course of these races?
Yeah, we've certainly seen a little bit of tire degradation with the 20-minute race in the horsepower and weight balance of these Formula 4 cars. It doesn't seem to be too affecting. Now, that can certainly come down to driver technique and use or abuse of the tires. But usually the guys that are running in the top five, they're holding pretty good on the tires. I don't think it's really creating too much of an issue. We have seen some issues. We've been traveling all around the country, and sometimes we've caught a track and it's really just been a brutally hot weekend, or the humidity has just been insanely high, and it's created quite a slick surface that the drivers have had to manage. But I think this may be one of the best surfaces that we've encountered all season, and I think the drivers are really kind of taking advantage of it and finding the grip that they can really get out here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm watching the qualifying times, and Lloyd Conway is on his personal best lap. So I think this is actually his first lap. First lap out being set. So we'll see where Conway comes in, and we'll get this time, and then we may flip over to look at a couple of photos. I think that Magic Mike has got us some pictures of the SRG studio there. So we can take a look, and there is Conway, and that did not count for time. So there was an off track somewhere, as we're getting a good shot there of the Sim Racers Group headquarters in East San Jose, California. Some really nice shots there. You can see all the Sims lined up. You got guys standing around doing some discussions on maybe some changes they can make to their driving standards, and that's very nice. Good shot there, Mike. Appreciate that. As we're going to get back on board here, and we're taking a look at Guyton, our current pole sitter, 124 flat. So great run by Guyton has put him at the top of the board, and we're going to see if Conway can get himself a lap set. That's that seems to be the odd man out here tonight. Is somebody who has been battling for the championship, hasn't quite got a time on the board yet. So we'll keep an eye on him and see if he can get something put in place. That's a very difficult corner there with the curb on the inside. You almost have to take it to go fast, and it's just really upsets the car as we're working their way through 15 now into 16. On board here with Conway and headed down the front straight. Let's see if this time is going to count for him and where it's going to put him on the board. And he's across the line, and survey says,
I think he had an off track somewhere.
No time. So wow. So another off track during that lap for Conway, negated his time. So he's still looking for a time to put on the board, and now it might just time to be to see if we can just get a banker lap put in and at least get somewhere where we're not starting at the very back of the field, and maybe can do something from the mid pack and try to make up some of that time during the race.
Yeah, that's what you would think. Maybe treat this lap as a not so much a full out lap, but maybe back her down half a second, and then you can hit the brake markers, take everything comfortable. It may not be where you feel like you can push the limit of the car, but get yourself on the board. He's always been pretty strong here, so I would think he can easily get himself into the top 6 or 7, get himself a little better spot on the grid. And so far it looks like he's had a pretty clean lap. Nothing spectacular, but I don't think he's really backed it down. They're pushing it pretty deep into the corners.
Yeah, it looks like he has really kind of pushed the car, and yeah, he took a lot of curb there coming through 13. Good line through 14 up to 15, taking that really tight line through 15. I've seen other cars take that really wide to get a better entry in to 15, but he took it pretty tight through there and back around to the start finish line. Let's see if this one's going to count for him. Looks like he had 2 green sectors. There we go, P9. So he's on the board, 2 seconds behind pole. Leslie has jumped back up to pole, 124.065, 18 milliseconds ahead of Guyton.
Yeah, that was a little bit slower than even the way it looked right there. Now we're looking at Joshua Leslie. I think he's running a pretty good lap right now. Maybe can better his time. And yeah, Guyton has really proven to be strong. It's such a technical track. He's really looked well the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's finished in the top 5, I believe, in the last 3 or 4. Just put together a really nice run, and it's kind of good to see he's putting a little test to Leslie. We've kind of seen this before where drivers up front can kind of get their shot at Leslie, and they take it when they get to a track they really know well, have a good understanding with, and it's kind of working out for Jacob Guyton right now.
Yep, as we're on board here with Vase with the Force India classic F1 livery on his car, looking sharp out there as he's working his way around the back half of the circuit and up through Fort as we're coming down, and make sure that I've got him tracked. Yep, coming down in the start finish straight. And let's see if he's going to improve on him. Does not look like he is going to improve his lap time. So he still sits in 5th position, and that's why that will be an off track. That will end this one. And it might be Force Bendia. There we go, into the wall. And it says he's going to get the car reset, obviously with no damage. So you can continue on. But I think that's one of the good things about that. As I said, that doesn't have to worry about that, can just let the car reset, get back out there and try it again. As we're on board here with Meyer, looking to see, looks like no fast sectors on this lap, so maybe he's winding up for a hot lap here as he comes down the final corner and down the front straight. We'll see what his lap time is. Yeah, he's almost a second and a half off, maybe 2 seconds off the last lap. So if this is his push lap, he better see what he can do, and we'll just kind of keep an eye on him as well. As we're just looking down the board here, we still have 5 drivers within a second of pole, and that's going to be an off track as well. At turn 3, very, very difficult. You try to carry as much speed. You get a lot of camber through 2 and 3 to help work your way around the corner. But you still can't overdo it, and you can carry too much speed through there and just ruin your lap as you see them getting ready to reset back onto the track. have a couple of cars coming through. Glasser coming through now, up the top of the hill through 4. Then working his way down, getting ready to go into 5. Nice wide line there, really hard in. Good line through there. Yeah, that was a nice corner. That very nicely done by Glasser there. Maybe he's warming his up as well, because his first sector was not fast, and neither was his second. And we do have Josh Leslie did have a purple sector in sector 1, but then sector 2 is off. So not really any improvements out there.
Yeah, no, everybody's kind of seen the track, I think, kind of go away with them. We've just passed, the checkered flag is out, so unless they've taken the line already and started a time, it's not going to count. So we'll see if Joshua Leslie can better his time. He's coming through the final section, going through 13, 14, 15 now, and he's still pushing it, so he might be on a pretty good lap. You see he's handles a little bit of understeer there, but manages to control the car. Chooses to go for the wide line, which I always think the wide line, it really sets you up for getting yourself back to this left-hander on the final corner. It is really one of the longer straights that we do get on this Barber Motorsports Park, and it is no straight here is really very long except the backstretch. And yeah, Joshua Leslie just absolutely put down a burner lap of 1:23.891. We expect that out of him. He has really grown to be that guy in the qualifying sessions.
Yeah, had fastest sectors 1 and sector 4 to set that lap time, and it gave him a 0.2 advantage over Guyton, who's still sitting there in second place. As we have Conway coming across, had 2 green sectors, and moves him up to P6. So he did manage to, he actually picked up about a half second over his last lap. So did a good job there at the very end to get one more good lap in. Sets him up to at least a challenge from the 6th position. As we roll over to the race session, we'll give you your starting grid here just momentarily as we get everything set here. I will say you'll notice as you're seeing seeing all the sights and the cameras that we've got working that there's a lot of I guess artwork over the track. The obviously the spiders being the big one there in turn 5 is just part of the charm of this track. So there's little pieces of art like that just here, there, and everywhere here. It's really a fun place to come watch a race. I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend IndyCar because it's early. It's in springtime. Anything that's in the summertime is terrible. So just telling you now, be prepared if you come down here. It's going to be hot. So let's get our starting grid here. Josh Leslie starting on pole. Jacob Guyton sitting outside in P2. Greg Meyer starts in P3, row 2. Ryan Chia in 4th. Sarah Vase starting in P5. Lloyd Conway starting in P6. Dan Clark starts 7th. Ken Glasser starting in 8th. Embriette Hyde starts in 9th. And Rodolfo Samudio starts in P10. Ken Estep starting in P11. And Nemo Alcazar starting in P12. Cy Nathan starts in 13th. And Jason Kocher starting in 14th did not set a qualifying time. So if he's going to race, he'll be starting from the back. And so final thoughts here, Kenan, before we get this race rolling?
I think we're going to have quite an exciting fight for the first couple of laps. We're going to have to see what people can do. Joshua Leslie has jumped off of the grid for a second. It looks like the crew's having trouble, and they got him back on, so that's good to see. I think maybe restart issues or something, and when the lights go on, they're going to go on. It's going to be a really good race, I think. I think we're going to see some spins. We're going to see some fighting. Certainly this track really entices the wheel-to-wheel action, and the engines are revving. Let's get ready to go.
We go as we get the lights. There we go. Lights are on, and we're getting ready, and they're off, and we're underway. And a nice jump by Leslie there. Just like Guyton and Meyer, pretty much neck and neck, headed down into turn 1, and they are going to fight through turn 1. Nice line there by Guyton to take that, or I'm sorry, Meyer to take that wide through 1. And they're still battling through, coming through 2 and 3, side by side. As we see the cars fan out behind a little bit, they're going to finally they're not going to get lined up. There's still going to be a good run out there by Meyer on the outside of 4. It's going to give him the shot down into turn 5 for the first time, as we're still getting a little too wide action there back at P4 and 5 with Vase and Chia. And that's somebody wide. Could not see who that was. As we get the graphics up and rolling here, and with Leslie taking the lead, Meyer in second, Guyton in third, Vase fourth, Conway fifth. We see some lockups going down through Museum Corner as we see, oh, there's a car off. That was Vase. I'm not sure if that was almost a straight line run. Maybe that was a hardware failure. That just looked like really straight. As we're going to see, see if we can get a replay there of Vase and see if he can get that car rejoined on the track as we're on board here with Guyton. A little bit behind, obviously, from that initial fight there at the start of the lap, and working our way through 14 and 15. It's like he's starting to close that gap down just a little bit. Here's our first replay.
Yeah, you can see Vase, he just kind of almost breaks a little tight, gets into the wall, hits it nose on. As we know, no damage. You see the little magicians come and repair the whole front end right there, but it looked like he was stopped. I think he does have the car continuing now, though. It looks like he's getting ready to finish the first lap, but that's a really tough start. I don't know what really happened to him there. It just looked like maybe the wrong bump just kind of sent him going the wrong way on the outside. He was maybe thinking about taking a visit to the museum.
Maybe so. That's a good place to visit. I highly recommend it. As we're back on board here with the leader, Josh Leslie, and you see that gap back to Meyer. Looks like Meyer's got a pretty good start here. He's only 0.3 back, starting to close that gap down on a couple of these straightaways. He's using that draft to his advantage. So they work their way down through the chicane and then through Museum Corner one more time, and they work their way out, and they're going to get this run down here to this Fast S coming up through. This is 10 and 11. They're going to make that. It's almost a flat one, probably flat for these cars until you start getting some tire wear. Then maybe a little bit of breathing on the throttle there. But Meyer holding his own so far. He's still hanging in there behind Leslie. Guyton and Conway just a little bit further back, about 1 second behind Meyer. Then we see Ryan Chia sitting there third. Dan Clark trying to close that gap. Ken Glasser, Embry at Hyde up P8. Ken Estep in ninth, and Samudio sitting there in 10th as they come around the start-finish line to set the next lap. And so far, everything looks like that's another fast lap by Leslie out front, 124.16. So nice 0.3 gap. He's already ballooned that gap out over Meyer to 0.8 of a second. So Meyer is starting to fade just a little bit as we're on board here with Estep, working his way through 2 and 3.
Hey, Greg Meyer, he had a little bit of a difficult back half of the second lap there. It cost him a little bit, but he is kind of quicker than Josh Leslie so far through the first and second sector. I've been noticing it on the monitor. He does make up a little bit of time, but the very fast flowing into the lap is kind of where his demise is so far. He's still sitting in within 0.3 of a second, and he's got a pretty good run on Joshua Leslie right now, and you see he's kind of falling back again. So he's just really struggling right now to fight it. He's got Jacob Guyton right behind him. It's a pretty good battle for second, and I think as we've talked about before, sometimes when you're second and third place, you have to concede where you are if it means you can run better lap times. You don't want to get caught up racing for second when you have a possibility at racing for first.
Yeah, I did see Meyer just kind of lose the rear end just a little bit going through 12 as he turned in for that corner. That might be what's causing the issues. Maybe the front end just not really wanting to cooperate yet with that car. And maybe a line change. He might learn something from behind Leslie. So maybe that's something he might pick up as they get a little bit further, and he might start picking that lap time up on that back half as he starts learning a little bit more about the right line to take through there as they're working their way down through 2 and 3. Coming up on here on lap 4.5 minutes into the race. And you can see these cars, minute 23.89, fastest lap of the race by Leslie as they work their way down into 5.
Yeah, Leslie has certainly put on a dominant first quarter of the race, but he is getting a little bit of a challenge by Greg Meyer. And like you said, Greg Meyer really needs to be studying Leslie, and you don't want to make the mistakes where you fall so far back. You can't learn Josh Leslie's line. I think the more that he can kind of learn and understand, you see he does get a pretty good run through the museum downhill left-right chicane, and kind of falls off on the exit of the corner. So he's got to find a little more speed and keep the momentum up in his car. Maybe that'll come with the tires. Maybe Leslie is burning his tires a little more than Meyer right now. There's still quite a bit of the race left. We've got just under 15 minutes, and we have certainly seen things change quite a bit in that time.
Yeah, we see a battle there between Hyde and Estep working their way through the chicane down in Museum Corner. And Hyde able to hang on to P8 for the time being, but Estep starting to put on the pressure from behind, half second back, but he was pretty much side by side going through that corner. She managed to get a really good run out. and able to hang on to that spot. And now you see Estep drive to the inside and make a little bit of contact, a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact there coming through 15. And she's able to get clear, and now Estep has another good run coming out of 16. He's going to make that move to the inside. He's going to try and late break here into turn 1. Got to make sure you don't clip too much of that inside curb. It really upsets the car. And he's able to make that pass over Hyde, picks up P8, and that's a really good battle. We'll have to keep an eye on that as the race continues and see if Embriette can do a little learning of her own and pick up some time and maybe challenge back for Estep and see if Estep can be consistent and hang on. As we're back on board here with Josh Leslie, and you see the gap is now starting to close back a little bit. So Meyer, as you hit, I think you're absolutely right. Meyer, really good first half of the lap, and then just seems to not be able to hang on to it there as they get to the second half. And we'll see if that gap balloons as we get down through here through 11 and 12 up to 13, up the hill, and we go over down into 14. This long winding right-hander climbing back up to the hill again into 15 to pit entry, and so far hanging in there, stays pretty consistent on that gap, and gets a nice run setting coming out of turn 16. And you see Guyton going a little wide there. That's going to put him under pressure from Conway from behind.
Yeah, Conway's definitely going to take a look inside. They're trading places going through 1. We'll have to hope they can do it cleanly, and it looks like they do give way. Guyton's going to get up to 3rd still, so that's quite an interesting battle. You see just how hard it is to push it. I mean, a lot of these corners with the speed you have to carry, you're not really in as much control of the mechanical grip. You're really relying on the slip angle and the slide to carry you through, and if you line it up wrong, whether that be your braking point or your corner entry, you can lose it. And there's Guyton. Guyton goes wide. Conway looks like was able to avoid him safely. He's going to get himself in reverse. That's always so dangerous on such a tight corner like that. And gets himself going, but that's really tough to fall back to 6th place in that position.
Yeah, absolutely. See a little lock up there. Back on the throttle. I've seen that with every class of cars I've ever watched it at Barber. There's always a spin coming out of 5, and unfortunately it was Guyton this time, but managed to back up, get out of the way. Great move by Conway to avoid, and you can just see the car as he's just maybe a little bit of lock up, and wow, nice move there by Conway to just dive out of the way at the very last possible second, and that is going to drop Guyton down to P6. We're on board here with Cy Nathan. It's coming down into 7 and 8 in the museum corner, and just a little bit late on entry there. Manages to catch it though. Good catch by Cy to hang on to that car and not get it looped around. But you can see you get a little behind on your cornering there in that chicane, and it's going to end up biting you as we're back on board here with Conway. And Conway taking it wide, and that is he going into the pits? He is going into the pits. Oh, missed a turn and headed into the pits, and the pits follow the track, so it's 2 90-degree corners at basically at pace speed. So that's going to cost him a chance at a very, very good position, and that's going to drop him all the way down. He's actually stopping in his box, so what's he thinking about there? And obviously no damage. So
no way, get tires.
Was that a tire change?
I don't know. I can't see why he would.
I mean, I can't either. I'd be an interesting strategy unless he felt like he maybe locked him up somewhere that he wasn't going to have the performance that he might think that he would. But that was sideways from Leslie coming through 13. That car was almost wrecked. And great job by Leslie to hang on to that. That's probably he's probably rethinking his life choices at that point as he's coming through that corner. But yeah, that's a very strange call by Conway. I'm not really sure what that was all about. And I think he's called it a day. I think he's out of the car and said, "I've had enough," and we're at the halfway point of the race.
Yeah, I think like we mentioned, I know he's been battling on us all week. He's battling it last week and wasn't able to race, and whether maybe he's got something to do with that, we don't know. We don't want to speculate, but he is out of the car. Looks like he's safe. He's with the crew team here. So, yeah, I don't know. That's really a good podium position that he just had, and it's kind of gone from him. So I don't know. We'll have to kind of find that out post-race once we get a chance to talk to the teams and hear the press conferences.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely check in after the race and just find out get the lowdown from Conway there. We see Meyer taking too much of the curb there, getting it a little squirrely, manages to hang on to it, lost a little bit of time there over to Leslie coming through the chicane. But once again, I'm pretty sure he's probably glad he hasn't wrecked because that was a way too much curb there coming through. And he's lost a little bit of time, and we're going to get on board here with Samudio. And he is coming out of the final corner. And yep, seen that before too. That's that outside curb there, and just upsets the car enough that if you're on that curb and you get back on the throttle, you have a tendency to lose the rear in the car. So luckily, Samudio no hit nothing, so can rejoin and continue on the race. And he's got 4 seconds to side Nathan. So we'll see what he can do in the last 8 minutes if he can make up a little bit of time. As we see Vase, something happened to Vase, so he's dropped down to P12. So we're gonna have to see if we can find a replay of that as well and check in on Vase. Here we go. Here's our replay.
Yeah, I think he's still been really fighting hard, running good lap times out, and he just gets it off track again. That may be the same wreck from lap 1. I think he is still recovering. If not, he has mimicked the same wreck 2 times in the same race. But yeah, oh no, that is a different wreck.
Yeah.
Same corner a little earlier. He gets it tough. You see the front end is destroyed, and bam, just like that, the magicians of the Formula 4 mechanics get the whole front end fixed right there on the spot, and he's able to keep going with the no damage policy in this league. So that works out for him, but unfortunately 2 mistakes like that all in the same corner, that's going to haunt him. I don't think he's recovering from 12th today.
No, I don't think so either. He's still losing time to the rest of the field, and I think that's it. I think he said I've called it a day as well, so he's out. And just obviously same incident. Looked like he just maybe felt like he was losing the rear of the car going down in the chicane, and just overcorrects it, turns it out to the left and into the arm code both times. So tough day at the office for Vase as well. As we're going to get another on board here. This is Ryan Chia. Yep, this is 12 and 13. And you see him just getting behind on his cornering and his braking and loses the rear there. So he's had a little bit of a slip up, dropped him down to 8th. Yeah, just you can see that's because of the compression, the change of direction, the compression off the hill, and then the spin there as he lights it up, trying to get it back straight and backs it up into the barrier and then restarts again. So there's a whole lot of factors there coming through that section. That is what they call tunnel turn. That is where the tunnel goes to the infield of the track. So obviously may have something to play there, as we see Estep battling coming up and passing Glasser to take over in P5. So great run by Estep so far, up 6 positions since the start of the race.
Yeah, he's certainly the hard charger by far. I know Ken Glasser's not going to want to just give that up easily. He's going to find a way to really attack here, I think, going into the museum turn and then down into 11 and 12 to try and maybe get this one back. He's certainly had a pretty good race for himself as well. It's a lot of minimizing mistakes, and so far Ken Glasser has only had 2 off tracks. Ken Estep is still sitting at 0, so they're really fighting. It's a battle of mistakes right now, and that's kind of what's cost Ken Glasser over Ken Estep.
Yep, absolutely. So Estep up to P5, Glasser down to P6. So the battle of the Kens there will continue on for a few more minutes as they're working their way around in the back half of this lap and around through into 15. And Estep looks like he's got a good run going, and Embry at Hyde has now joined this battle up to P7 now from the issues of some of the other drivers. And so she's putting on a challenge for Glasser here. So she's looking to see if she can improve her lot in life as they work their way down into turn 1. And we'll say the battle up front has ballooned out a little bit. Greg Meyer is now 1.4 behind Leslie. It's like Leslie started to stretch his legs just a little bit, and they have a huge gap over Dan Clark running in third. 15 seconds is the gap between second and third. And then Guyton running in fourth, almost 2 seconds behind Clark. So you see the front starting to really stretch out a bit.
Yeah, you certainly are. Greg Meyer kind of slipped up. He sort of lost the pace, and with that, even some of the draft that maybe Joshua Leslie was helping him with on being able to carry through a lap. And Embry Hyde, she just keeps getting better and better. It seems like we have to mention her name more and more every week because she's running so much higher on the leaderboard, and she's coming off of some really good finishes here over the last 3-4 weeks, and running in 7th again today at such a difficult track like Barber. That's always worth a shout out. And It'll be interesting to see if she can maybe get something on King Glasser here. We've got just under 5 minutes to go. Figure what about 3, maybe 4 laps left, and that's plenty of time, plenty of corners to find an opportunity.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be 3 laps to the line. Could be wrong. It just depends on where the leader is. Maybe 4 laps to the line as these cars come through. Looks like the leaders have already crossed. As we're looking at the battle here for P6 between Glasser and Hyde, as she's still continuing to march forward. 4/10 of gap now as they work their way down into turn 1. So just need to be consistent these last few laps. And Meyer has dropped off the pace even further. The gap now 2.4 to Leslie. And the gap hasn't really increased or decreased back to Clark, still 15 seconds. So just looks like Leslie has actually just turned the wick up, and so I need to just clear these and be done with it. And so he's off to the races, as the gap is now 2.6, with like I said, about 3 laps to go, I believe, at the line when they come through the next time. As we'll get on board here with Leslie, we'll have about 3 minutes to go. So it's going to be 3 at the line, as they're just going to be a little bit short of making it 2, with 3 minutes to go as they cross the start-finish line. So with a 1:24 lap, that's going to be 3. And we're on board here with Cy Nathan and Rodolfo Samudio. They're still battling, even here back in 10th place. They're still battling for a position as we see them working their way down into turn 5. Nathan taking that very, very tight line to the inside defensively. Samudio working it the normal line through, trying to get a good run out, maybe get a little bit of speed advantage coming out of that corner. Not enough to make a move going down in the chicane. So still 4/10 the gap there as we roll back around through Museum Corner. And you see Samudio getting a little bit wide coming out of there, losing some time. And so that's going to give Nathan a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, he's been able to defend it so far. He's got himself in a pretty good position, but we do see Dan Clark looking to maybe make a move with Jacob Guyton. He's been really holding on that half second. He's certainly within drafting distance. It's kind of time to have to size him up, and just as I spoke about it, it locks up the rear brake, slides it through pretty safely, but that's going to cost him about half a second, so that race may be a wash as well.
It may be, as that gap has now increased thanks to Clark's lockup going through the chicane. And that's one, again, we talked about the chicane just being very, very difficult to get adjusted to, because of all the little things that you have to do to get that little section right. As we're back on board with Glasser, it's like he's starting to stretch a gap a little bit to Hyde. It's now 1.4, and he's starting to close back down on Ken Estep just a bit. So it's like he's got himself righted and back in his race groove, and looking to see if he can get P5 back before this race is done. I think we're going to be at we didn't get the white flag last time, so probably 2 to go when they come through.
Yeah, I think we're on we're working to the white flag lap right now. Joshua Leslie is, and King Glasser still got 2 laps to get it done. They're going across the front straightaway. He's been able to push it, I think, just kind of like we saw there with Dan Clark and Jacob Guyton, though. It's really a fine line between pushing it and being able to complete the pass, or you push it, you get yourself tight, and unfortunately you find yourself out in the grass and losing maybe a position. So you really got to decide just how hard you want to push it for not giving up any more points than you could maybe gain or benefit from really having to make a difficult pass.
Yep, as we see, Hyde is starting to close that down. She's got it back down under a second. She was down at 3/4 just before we got through turn 5, so she lost a little bit of time through 5. So she might make this a 3-car battle there for that P5 position. We see Josh Leslie coming around, taking the white flag. This will be the last lap of the race. He's got a 3.5-second lead over Greg Meyer running in P2, and they're working their way down into turn 1 for the final time. Got some left traffic in the front he's going to have to deal with as he works his way around. I believe that was Samudio coming their way into 1, as we see Glasser still hanging on to P6. Gap is now half second back to Hyde. It's up to 8/10, 9/10 to Estep up in P5. So this will be another battle here as Leslie's starting to work his way through the final, the back half of the field, as on the last lap, which is always going to bring problems. And let's see if that brings Meyer a little bit closer. It is down to about 3.2. So he has lost a little time, not really trying to push it too much, as we see Hyde make a run down to the inside there, taking a look, Not quite enough there to get past Glasser, but she made it look close as now the heat's on Glasser and he's starting to lose time to Estep up front.
Yeah, there's really kind of starting to spread out. We're kind of seeing everything sort of shake into its hand coming to the final laps. Not quite much of any battles all around, but certainly any little slip up, any little lock up of the brake could create a change of position. But I think we're going to see Joshua Leslie as he rounds around the final corners here take this checkered flag within hand. I hate to jinx him like I did in Indianapolis, but it looks like I won't jinx him today. He's going to go ahead and take it as we see Barney, the flag man, waving it strong.
Absolutely, as Barney's waving that checkered flag, and Josh Leslie takes the win, 4.5 second gap over Greg Meyer in second. Looks like there might be a little bit of a battle for Guyton and Clark. We'll see how this is going to play out in the final couple of corners. The gap is 1.4 to those two cars as we're on board here with Estep. He's got that P5 position. He's still got Glasser and Hyde in tow, so they're going to be coming around through 14, 15, working their way down, and Glasser looking to the inside there. No such luck coming through 16. Looks like it's going to be Estep hanging on to that that top 5 position there, finishing in 5th. Glasser's going to finish in 6th. Hyde's going to finish in 7th. So great run by all 3 of those drivers. Great run by Estep. The hard charge of the race up 6 positions, and then we're waiting on our final finisher, which will be Ryan Chia as he's coming working his way across the line to finish in 8th position. There he is right there. And so great race. Obviously, we talked about the difficulties with this track, and it did catch a few drivers out, but I think the drivers up front show why they've been up front for most of the season.
Yes, certainly. Everybody up front really tackled the challenge quite well, and really a well-done job by Greg Meyer finishing podium P2, and that's a very well-done drive. He didn't quite give Josh Leslie the fight that I'm sure he wanted to, but that is really a well-done race, driven nice, smooth, clean. I believe that's got to be his best finish so far of the season, so I don't know if we get a chance to speak with him in the interview field or not after the race, but I think that's my biggest shout out there. Jacob Guyton really managed to hold on strong with Dan Clark, but Greg Meyer and the Taco Bell machine with the dong of the bell is just really, really phenomenal drive today.
Absolutely, as the drivers are working their way back around to the pits to park the cars and go either celebrate or commiserate with their teams. We'll let these drivers get through, and we'll get our final results here up when they're available. Once everybody gets cleared and we can get that, and Mike brings it up for us. There we go. Josh Leslie, your race winner tonight. Greg Meyer finishing second. The gap 4.5 seconds. So Meyer gave him a late charge, but just not quite enough, and Leslie able to pull out once they got through the traffic. Jacob Guyton finishing in third. Final step on the podium, Dan Clark finishes in 4th. Ken Estep, great run, up 6 positions, finishing in 5th. Ken Glasser finishes in 6th. Embry Hyde just behind, finishing in P7th. Ryan Chia, last car on the lead lap, finishing in 8th. Nemo Alcazar finishes in P9. Cy Nathan in 10th. Rodolfo Samudio finishes in 11th. Sarah Vase finishes in 12th. Had trouble, obviously, all night long with the chicane. Lloyd Conway finishing in 13th, probably due to illness, but we'll see if we can get
I had computer issues. I was able to get over the radio.
All right, so computer was sick, not Conway himself, so understandable. And Jason Kocher finishing, actually not taking the start, so he'll be classified in 14th. And I believe we have a couple of interviews, drivers waiting for interviews.
Yeah, if you want, I can interview our race winner, Joshua Leslie.
Yeah, let's bring in Josh.
See what his thoughts are.
And we'll let you conduct the interviews.
Yeah, this is our winner, Joshua Leslie. Start to finish, took the pole in qualifying, finishes P1, had himself what a lot of us race fans and in the spectator broadcasting booth would call a easy day. But I'm sure it wasn't that easy. Joshua, tell us how about the whole race. How do you think it went?
The race went great. I was just trying to manage the gap between me and Meyer. I wasn't really trying to push very hard because I know I made a lot of mistakes in practice and qualifying, so I just wanted to minimize all of that. And that's kind of how I got here, first place.
Yeah, we could kind of tell. We questioned just how hard you were really pushing it, but we did note all the different spins in qualifying. It seems like all the qualifying sessions here recently, you do find yourself in some trouble spinning it out and all. Do you just attest that to trying to push the car too hard? Are you finding limits that you don't have, or is that kind of just unintentional mishaps that you're finding yourself in with qualifying?
I'm just trying to push really hard in practice and quali, like find the limits and then just stay below those limits during the race. So there's no unknowns, when I race.
Yeah, no, you certainly did. You kept the car. It looked like it was on rails out there all day long. And I know you're not normally used to seeing Greg Meyer kind of right on your mirror for most of the race, but it seemed like he was giving you a little bit of a challenge there till the later stages. And how did that feel? Did you feel like you really had to push harder to make sure you were managing that kind of gap?
I didn't really need to push harder, but I was just making sure he doesn't get too close. I think one time he was like within 3/10, so I did have to, speed up my lap times. But then once I got that comfortable, like 1 second gap, I was just cruising.
Yeah, certainly. And you did. You kept that 1.5 second gap pretty much start to finish after you broke out into it on lap 3. And nobody was really able to give it to you. It looks like you've really got the hot hand going into the final few races to wrap up the championship. I don't know if you've quite statistically got it yet, but who do you want to thank for today's win? I know you like to thank everybody every week when you're racking up these wins and collecting all the hardware. So we'll give you a good moment to take a shout out, and well done on the win.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same people, my parents, like my sister and my grandparents, like, for watching the broadcast and supporting me. And Jason here, just giving me tips and also getting me ready for F3.
Absolutely. You're looking well prepared for it. I know you can't wait to have that challenge come next season, and
Yep.
it's only a few weeks away, so that's going to be very interesting to see here on the Slow Motion Broadcasting Network. Congratulations on the first place, Joshua. That is a really well done drive, and look forward to seeing you next week and hopefully wrap up the championship.
Yep, thank you.
All right, that was Josh Leslie, your race winner tonight. So another great race by Josh. Let's bring in Greg Meyer, our second place finisher. We'll have an interview with him, and I'll see if I can get him pulled down here. Greg, P2 tonight. You gave it a good try. You kept Josh honest there for at least the first half of the race, but just seemed like it was just not enough to really put in a challenge on him.
Yeah, absolutely what you said. I wanted the whole time, I knew he was quicker than me, but I just thought maybe I can push him into a mistake. And I've never seen him make that many mistakes before for the season. So I was happy. I was like, okay, it's going to be the one. But honestly, he was quicker than me on half the track. And then the other half, I was quicker than him. And I just, every time coming into the chicane, I had speed, and then I couldn't. I would have to slow down, and I actually got a slow down penalty, and that's why I had to drop back a couple seconds.
Yeah, that'll absolutely do it. There's a nasty little penalty, a slowdown penalty involved in that as well if you cut too much. And I think we caught that on camera. Actually, I think you just kind of
I didn't want to run into the back of him. So
yeah, for sure.
he was braking a lot harder than I was into that turn, and so it was tough for me to read what he was doing. But all the rest of the track, he was quicker, so it was tough.
Yeah. So, what do you think about Barbers in general?
Yeah, I've never heard of it, and I didn't race it until this week. And at first, I was like, "This sucks," but it's not that it's difficult; it's that it's technical. And now that I've learned it, it's great. I love it. I'm not big on that chicane. That downhill chicane's kind of silly, but everything else is great.
Yeah, they want to call it. This is my local track. They want to call it the corkscrew, but I just can't do it. That's
the mini corkscrew or something.
Yeah, that's reserved for Laguna Seca. We're going to leave the corkscrew over there. So
we appreciate that.
So no, it was like I said, it was a good effort by you, just not quite enough, but obviously showed some really good pace out there. And congratulations on your P2, and we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs and let you go get prepared for next week.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Shout out to all my friends watching in the chat. I know that they're popping off, so I appreciate it. And yeah, honestly, I hope that I'm going to try to get up to P2 in the series this season. I think I can do it, so we'll see.
There you go. Got to have a goal, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, Greg,
Thank
congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
Yep.
That was Greg Meyer, our P2 finisher. So obviously very happy with the P2. And Kenan, we've got our final podium sitter up there if you want to bring him down. and do an interview with him, we'll bring in Jacob Guyton.
Yeah, let's talk to Jacob Guyton right now. We've just brought him into the booth. Jacob Guyton, really well done job. P3. We were able to hold off Dan Clark there. He was really charging hard the last few laps. How do you feel being able to come away with the bottom step of the podium?
Felt great. I was just trying to keep my own on the track. I wasn't having too great of lap times. I just couldn't find my rhythm. And then through all that said and done, ended up fighting Clark for a while, and he definitely put on a good show tonight, and racing him was a heck of a good time.
No, it absolutely was. We were really getting kind of giddy up here in the press box, just broadcasting it. We were showing quite a bit of that battle throughout the entire race. And it's a beautiful multicolor livery that you have on the car and the number 64. And it really seems like here over the last 3 or 4 weeks, you've really put together really nice, well finishes, almost back since Indianapolis. The team's been getting better. You guys are all looking stronger, feeling more confident when I see you guys walking through in the paddock. What do you have to say to attest to that? Do you feel like you guys are really looking in the right direction?
Yeah, Indy was definitely my worst of the season. But thank you for the compliments on the livery and the drive. Just been trying to keep my head down and focus and race clean, and yeah, just pick up time where I can. And it's been a great drive so far this season.
Yeah, I think it's really certainly played out well. You've been at the top of the points. We're starting to wind down, and today was a really well done P3 finish. It's nice to see you on the podium, getting to celebrate with everybody down here. So really well done job. We look to see you next week, and let's wrap up the season well.
Yeah, let's go. Thank you so much.
That was Jacob Guyton, our P3 finisher. So that's our podium. And let's bring in our SRG boss, Jason Kotcher. We'll bring him down, have a quick chat before we wrap this up tonight. Jason, pretty good night overall. I think there was some really good racing out there on a very technical track.
Yeah, happy Tuesday, guys. Thanks for having me. I had to think about that one for a second. I'm usually a Wednesday night guy.
So so out of curiosity, is this following the F4 series, or is this just a kind of a random draw for getting Barbers? I'm not opposed to it, because obviously, like I said, this is my home track, so you'll hear that quite a bit when you go back and listen to the broadcast. So this obviously is one of my favorites, but it is kind of an oddball, as it doesn't get ran nearly as much as I would like to see.
Yeah, SRG follows the iRacing schedules per class exactly, so that guys can run official and girls can run officials, and then do some practice and jump straight into the league race. Does a couple of things. It makes it easy to practice and play and have fun, and it means I don't have to build schedules. So this season F4 is following, we're following the Americas. It's really cool iRacing that they have 4 schedules built by global region, if you will. There's Aussie Asia, the Americas, Europe, and then they're global. And we ran Europe, I think, in the first season of 2025. Then we ran the Australian Aussie 12-week pre-built schedule. Season 3 is Americas, as we're just about 3/4 of the way through now. And then next season, when you see us on F4, it will be the global mix schedule. So it makes it a lot of fun. We turn weather on. As you've seen, there was rain in Watkins Glen, and the change of conditions makes it as realistic as we possibly can. And we do the same thing with F3. We're really pulling for the new car. It seems appropriate, as we've been discussing in the chat. And when that happens, I'm sure as every new car comes on, will be weather enabled, and so will that be, and so will we. So yeah, I ruled myself out by experience to run in F3 and kind of protect it as the JV in the ladder series, as you guys have mentioned. We're running a rookie Formula Ford race now, so the ladder is actually 4 tiers. Okay. And it's just a great way for people that don't have experience. You've never sat in a sim rig before, come on down to SRG if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, and you can jump into a rookie league race, build your skills, jump into the big show of F4, and then graduate into the F3 series we run tomorrow night. So I just want to come on and shout out SMB. You guys are awesome, and the great racing that is really come to the fore with the Sim Racers group and the F4 League. Super proud of all these guys and gals. It's been great.
Yeah, and we've really enjoyed. I know I've enjoyed the F3s, and I've actually enjoyed the F4s when I've had a chance to get over here, and I will watch a race as much as I can. So it's been fantastic to watch. Got a good group of drivers, and they just seem like they're improving every week, which is what's supposed to happen, right? You're supposed to get better as you get a little more seat time. So it's really starting to show on the track, and so we'll be looking forward to seeing the F4 circus go to VIR next week.
Yeah, fun circuit there too. It's a demanding schedule. The Americas, a lot of great stuff there. We're grateful to have it, and I was pretty fortunate that we got popular and that people appreciated the priority on clean racing and tight officiating, and it grew to the point where we could launch an F3 series and then have the F4 give the F4 kids a little bit more room on track and let them race for wins when otherwise their skill set would have only had them mid-pack. But it's all coming together, and super proud of them as a coach and an organizer. We're having a great time here, so we appreciate it.
Jason, any final thanks or shout outs before we let you go?
Yeah, I'm always shouting out the community, the participants. You know, they've bought on as a community and really made an effort to sharpen up those skills. And I think the broadcasting may have helped. Nobody wants to be the guy that causes a big crash. You know, when everybody's watching, the behavior sharpened up. So that's been fun to watch. And then also real quick, the admins of SRG and the leagues, Alex Velasco and Tyler Hagan are, they're my backstop. They're my rock. They're always there to fix something or IT a computer. You got 12 computers in a place. If something goes wrong, sometimes I'm already doing 3 other things, and those guys are there for me all the time, and I can't thank them enough. So yeah, congratulations to the league. 3/4 of the season done. Josh looks like he's getting away with this one to the championship, which is well deserved. He's in here practicing. He's earned it. You'll see him in F3 next season for sure. And then there'll be some room to bring some new kids up from rookie into F4, and on we roll. So thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, Jason Kotcher, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
And that was the head of SRG, Jason Kotcher. Kenan, final thoughts. Really good race tonight as we look forward to your home track, VIR, next week.
Yeah, I think Barber Motorsports Park served as a perfect little warm-up to go to the greatest racetrack in the world. Some call it heaven on earth at the Virginia International Raceway. And I think we're going to be in for a treat next week. We saw some really good racing here. I think next week will be just as much the same. It's a very technical track. There's very many different ways to be fast, and it kind of offers a lot of different lines. So it's got a lot to offer, and the Formula 4 season is going to keep moving on to the finish.
There we go. And speaking of moving on to the finish, we're not anywhere close to finished for this week. We've got the F3s tomorrow night as we move to Road Atlanta for Formula 3 SRG action, as well as our weekend lineup Saturday with the Weekend Warriors Formula Vs, Sunday with the doubleheader, the Formula 4s, and the Spec Racer 4s. Also wanted to mention tomorrow night, our own Magic Mike Braun will be participating and streaming the Race for the Cause, working toward raising money for MS. It's a very illness that affects Mike directly. And so we'll be looking forward to that. Also coming up here in the very near future, we've got the IndyCar Championship Series from Extreme Motorsports. We'll be kicking that off on August 27th, starting at Road America. Going to be a fantastic league, a fantastic series. And that's going to do it for tonight. I'm Charles Beauchelle, along with Kenan Miller. Thank you very much for allowing me to sit in tonight. Mike Braun doing a great job running things for us, and so for everybody here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, Sim Racers Group, we'll see you next week, and we'll see you at the track.